Another lovely day in the neighborhood. We are recording, right? Yes, we are. Okay, yeah, video, walk and talk and such. Really is just outstanding weather. I wish I was, I wish it was 15 years ago, 20 years ago. I wish I wasn't who I am now, with the blights I have now. Getting old thing. I don't know. Well, whatever. Won't even get into it. Medical issues. Anyway. Pyrrho. Physics. Mumbo jumbo. Really irritating. But people just keep making stuff up, I guess. I don't know. I mean, I like making stuff up, too. It's good to talk about this stuff, but you can't do it in this, atmosphere where there's this elitist groups, these name guys, and they say something, everybody pays attention, like they're doing something, like somehow their ass is golden. And when they talk out of their golden ass, it's actually supposed to make some kind of sense. But we know that they're full of shit. Even smart people like Hawkins, are too stupid, to figure out things like the probability. I mean, Hawkins doesn't understand probability, and thinks the fact that we're here demonstrates a function of the universe. And it doesn't. It demonstrates that one time it was possible. It doesn't demonstrate that it's likely or probable that life would occur. Anyway, don't want to get into that subject, because that's, people are really, whatever, I don't know, truthery all over the place on that subject. Anyway, so you've been talking about microtubules, which are just a mechanical piece of chemistry. I mean, obviously cells rely on a lot of infrastructure to do their replicating, especially modern cells. I mean, we don't have cells from the first generation of life on Earth. We can only speculate about how they functioned. But they did have to do something. They had to first build a DNA molecule. The DNA molecule had to have built into it certain this happens, this happens, this happens kind of thing. So there had to be chemistry that ran a sequence of events. So it had to copy the DNA and then split the DNA and then rebuild the two split pieces of DNA. So these are all mechanical pieces of chemistry. And it's like a cascading effect. One chemical builds the next chemical, builds the next chemical, builds the next chemical, and then there's a chain reaction once a certain places. It's a Rube Goldberg through natural design, a cascading event. So anyway, and so these microtubules are just part of the evolution of the chemistry, and they are advantageous because they're a piece of chemistry that can add structure to very small things. And all they are really is like a DNA molecule. It's a molecule that creates itself it's a protein that ends up being hollow. So it forms itself into a tube. And these tubes can not only create rigidity and elasticity, but they can also transfer chemistry through a siphoning action. So it seems pretty obvious and blah, blah, blah. Now, the thing that these people are doing is, there's zillions of these things, so therefore they're a brain. No, they're not a brain. I mean, you can make a computer or a processing machinery out of anything. Some of the first computers human beings made were made on looms, because looms intersect, and so if you weaved wire and created points where you could change what wires are, where the wires short to each other, you could create a crude memory storage and whatever binary register and a crude computer. So anything can be turned into a computer, not anything, but a lot of things that are numerous. These rocks, for example, or anything, there's a bunch of something, and it's interacting you could, if you could control the interactions, use it as a register for information. You could impact the ground and leave impressions that would, be durable. Anyway, and that's basically all a computer's doing. An information processor, I don't know what you want to call it. So anyway, there's nothing brilliant about that. There's nothing, there's just no reason to assume these structures have any thought or consciousness or, any kind of substantial information processing capacity. They're part of a chain reaction. They're part of the Rube Goldberg, this hits that, causes this, causes that, this goes down, it's part of that structure. But that's it. Let's not glorify it. So anyway, he hasn't done his third part in this, whatever it is. Yeah, this irritating babble on the subject of physics, because he will turn into something, some reason to think there's cause to speculate about these almost magical properties of matter, rather than these very hard, rigid, cause and effect, crude principles of material interaction. So anyway, oh damn, I was going to bring the macro camera. Yeah, they're just lovely. Yeah, would have been nice, but somebody forgot. Yeah, somebody did. It's like every day. Yeah, it's a rough day for me. Oh, girl running. Good, that'll help. Girl's running. She's in very bright colors. Probably give me a fright. So back to the physics. Yeah, how you doing? He just smiled at me. Yeah, yeah, that helps. Yeah, the day is better already. Yeah. Anyway, whoa, sun maybe right over here. Yeah, I gotta tilt this camera funny. And another whole subject of crap. So anyway, this physics thing is kind of interesting. There are things to think about. So as you get these strong and weak forces holding atoms together, and how do we model that structure? So Pyrrho talked a little bit about the Planck constant, which is the speed of light scenario. And, I like that one. And I like the idea that there's a mechanics to it. And so I've used as an example, like most people aren't aware, that all the sound you hear is created by sonic booms. Everything you hear. You won't hear any sound. There is no sound without a sonic boom, without some piece of matter moving faster than the speed of light. So it's only when a piece of matter, an atom, moves faster than the speed of light that sound is generated. A wave pattern of bombardment through the atmosphere. And what's basically happening, it makes sense, is that when you go at a certain speed, you release atoms. And they're what create this vibration in the atmosphere. And that's why it has to be in an atmosphere, because it's actually the atoms banging into each other that are generating the sound. So where do I want to go with that? Yeah, so it's just sort of an interesting phenomenon to be aware of, is that, sound isn't just every vibration. It's only vibrations that are instigated by matter moving faster than the speed of light. I mean sound. So now when we go to the atomic level, our common reference of this atom is that you have this gravity well of some kind that's created by the bits of matter. So the nucleus captures electrons, would be how we would visualize it. But they're captured in distinct orbits, of a set distance, a set size. And there's a set number of them dependent on how much nuclear matter there is. So the more pieces of quanta you have in the nucleus, theoretically, the more orbits are possible around the nucleus. So I would theorize that all matter is made up, like the sound scenario, all matter is made up of energy, quanta, bits, things moving at the speed of light. That nothing in the universe, not all of this stuff, is all stuff moving at the speed of light. It's just trapped in orbits. That's what an atom is. An atom is trapping energy in orbits. So even the nucleus is stuff moving at the speed of light. And so I would theorize that instead of magic as an explanation, that there's a model for that atom and its structure. And that if we establish that quanta, the bits, the Planck constants, the one step on the checkerboard, the universe, let's say the universe was a checkerboard, a three-dimensionalized checkerboard, and on every clock tick, the checker could move one space. And that's all that the whole universe is doing, is moving one space at a time, the matter. So it either moves forward or backward or left or right or whatever, and that's the rule. And so what's happening inside the center of the atom is, there could be, a million quanta, a million checkers that make up one neutron or proton. These are the constituents of the nucleus. And that, because they can have that much quanta in them, E equals mc squared. C squared is the speed of light times the speed of light amount of energy. So obviously, an atom isn't described very well by saying, one neutron, one proton, and one electron. 3 is not the speed of light squared. So obviously these pieces have to be made up of a tremendous amount of releasable energy in terms of releasable photons. The c squared is basically saying c squared worth of photons. The speed of light squared number of photons in one atom of, mass. So a one neutron is the speed of light squared photons of energy. So let me think. What I'll go with. So the locking part. How do they do this capturing of the energy? The quanta streams, the pieces, the chains. So that's how I'm thinking of it. They're chains of quanta, or groups of quanta, schools even of quanta. So I like to talk about it. And that would sort of explain light's directionality. Because light has a shape. Light can either be this shape, or it can be that way. It can move this way, or it can move this way. And because we can filter it. So it has a width, height, dimension to it. It's filled in with something. So anyway, or it has a length, which is the other part of this. It has a string quality. Not like string theory, but string. Anyway, so let's say the nucleus was made out of these strings, and that they had, set locking numbers. That they had to lock. They had to find their snake eating the tail orbit, and that there would be a defined limits to how big those orbits can be or small those orbits could be, and that would be established by some mechanism in the nucleus. So you could almost argue that if the nucleus was made up of a string, that maybe it's moving this way. not laterally, but in a sideways motion. And it's the length of the string that is determining the orbit. So you have an orbit from the center point, and the string is moving this way, not lengthwise. There's no friction on this subatomic level, so it doesn't matter whether something moves in that funny direction. It's almost like an airplane levitating. It doesn't seem like that would suit the aerodynamics, but that's on the quantum level, that's perfectly acceptable. So a string moving this way with its length going sideways is quite possible, and it could be orbiting a center point as whips of quanta. And the whip would be deciding how the orbit is of the next electron captured. So the electron is captured by the whip end grabbing the electron. And so the electron will orbit the atom at the whip length, the length of the whip. So you have longer whips, you have wider orbits. Yeah, I think it could work. So there. I don't have a golden ass. I just pulled some, physics out of it, an explanation, and it won't be treated as if it came out of Hawking's mouth or some other guy with a name. And their bullshitterisms will become something everybody talks about. My bullshittisms will just fade into the ears. They'll just sink like a rock. That's the way it goes. The world's not fair. Yeah. So anyway, I think that's enough. So until the next time, and such and so forth, and whatnot. Oh, alright, me again. Yeah. What the hell, right? It's such a lovely day. Oh, anyway. So where was I? So the atom thing. Yeah, let's talk some more about atoms. Atom. Atom guy, sent me something. It was nice. Big box full of bags. No, it wasn't bags. It was a computer in there. At first, I said, oh, look at all these great bags. They were just packing. Anyway, atoms. Yeah, so I'm going with this concept of string. Like I said, it's like string theory, but it has nothing to do with string theory. The string theory has to do with these strings interlocking and all this kind of bullshit, and it's all wacky theory and dimensionality and all this other shit, and fuck all that crap. Fucking people and their silly multiverse crap. Yeah. Out of the ass, crap. See, it goes together. Out of the ass, crap. And so that's how it goes for most of it. Maybe this is out of the ass, crap. We'll find out, but that is certainly out of the ass crap. I can smell it. I'm damn sure. This, I haven't got a bad smell to yet. This theory of crap. Anyway, so what if protons and neutron combine in a way where they end up just being a string and spinning on itself, on its center. So the proton is one side of the string, the north side. The neutron's the south side, and they spin on the axis between them, and they just keep spinning. And why are they spinning? Well, because the quanta that make up the string is moving still at the speed of light. See? Isn't that interesting? And so the trick will be that the string has to arc, as the distance goes further out, because the speed of light would change. The rotation would oblige an arcing. The ones on the outside, well, you get my drift. I mean, either it's arcing this way or it's going forward, hooking this way. hooking might even be better, because that would explain gravity. Yeah, it really would. The hook theory of gravity. Because they have longer to go around. You know, say the wider orbit and the center orbit, the things are traveling at the same orbital passes, so they have to do it in some manner that doesn't change speed, because they're all going the speed of light. So if you make that the rule, and you, what's the right way to put it? You oblige there not to be some sort of, on the quantum level anyway, some sort of time displacement, and you actually were rigid about the speed of light, then the strings couldn't remain straight. They'd have to bend to orbital distance to compensate for the speed of light. And, but those eccentricities would get exaggerated over the number of rotations. So I'll have to try to model this. I mean, I can't really visualize it in my head, so I'll have to draw it or something. Anyway, so the point I wanted to make is that the distance of the orbits is being decided, the rigidity of the orbits, by the length of these strings. And it doesn't entirely explain why, when you add one more pair of neutrons and protons to the nucleus, why the orbits go out further unless the strings do attach to the ends. Which could be. So the atom doesn't really have a nucleus, it just has a center point, and the string goes out from that center point with locking points at the ends of protons and neutrons. Let's say a proton hooks onto a neutron hooks onto a proton. So when you have your first pair, you have a neutron and a proton, they make a string that's orbiting on their center point. And then the next pair, the neutron will hook onto the proton end, the proton will hook onto the neutron end, making the string longer, but with still those connecting points where an electron can connect to orbit. So your orbits are still consistent, and you have new orbits created. Yeah, I like it. Now I have to explain why there's higher and lower energy orbits, but that would have to do with the length of the quanta chain, which is the strength of the electron, and the why when they're moving in. See, that we use these terminology, but we have no evidence of in and out. All we have evidence of is the fact that there's orbits, sort of, that there's configurations, and that when an electron moves from configuration A to configuration B, it releases a photon, and when it moves from configuration B to configuration C, it requires an electron to be added, or a photon. Releases a photon, sorry. But this is working for me. So, we're getting closer, I think. Closer to shaping the out-of-my-ass shit into something, that may make it bronzable, and then it won't be shit anymore. And it'll be bronze shit. And then eventually, after testing, we can drill a hole in the bronze and fill the bronze with honey or something instead of shit. And then we'll call it a done theory. But I don't really have time for all that. I think I'll just make a video and I'll just put it out there and say, this is it. Here it is. Blah. Do what you will with it. My work is done. But I have to think some more on this. I like physics. It's an interesting subject. But there's no magic in it. It's just mechanical forces. Just mechanical, not even forces. It's just quanta on the checkerboard, and the checkerboard has rules. And that's all there is. You know, left, right, up, down, forward, backward. There just isn't anything to this. Yeah, it's made out of nothing. Not nothing, but you know what I mean. Arranged clumping. Yeah, that's all it is. Matter clumping. And certain clumps are weird. Yeah, because of how they're shaped. It's just about the shape. So your checkers can be in a pattern. The pattern can be a spiral loopy thing, or it can be a star thing, like an asterisk. You know, that's all it really is. The checkers on the board end up making shapes, and some of those shapes have properties that do things that are really bizarre. And so it's like carbon being a diamond, or carbon being graphite. It just has to do with how you arrange the checkers, how tightly they're arranged, and you take out all the impurities, so to speak, because of the arrangement, and it becomes more rigid, harder, because the bonds are stronger, because of where they're locked, in terms of the atoms and the electrons, and how they're sharing those electrons. So that's a whole nother subject, the sharing of an electron that creates the bond. Yeah, that's a good subject, because it seems quite obvious that what's binding the atoms is the strength of the electron itself. The electron is a string of quanta. The string isn't easily broken, and so the string is basically orbiting both atoms continuously, and that's what holds the atoms together. And the string, once made, doesn't want to break, and yeah, it's that simple. And so that's why it requires energy to bust it. Something like that. To disrupt it. And that's another key part here. All it takes is one disruption, one blink, and it's gone. Say if I turned off the Earth's gravity for 1 second. Just 1 second. I turn off the Earth's gravity. The moon will escape. And that 1 second will be enough, I think, theoretically, for the moon to escape Earth's gravity. It'll go back on its straight line path, and at least it'll end up, you know, much, much further away. And like I said, probably in an orbit that won't be sustainable. So let's just make it 5 seconds, just to make the calculation easier. But yeah, turn off Earth's gravity for 5 seconds, and the moon is gone. And so the same thing happens inside of atoms. All you have to do is disrupt the bond for a millisecond, and everything escapes, or a big giant piece of it escapes. And I think that's what happens in the nuclear chain reaction of the atomic bomb. The neutron goes in, and it disrupts the nucleus just enough. Just breaks down the bonding structure for that little brief moment, and in that little brief moment, big hunks of shit fly off. So more neutrons are released, the atom structure is reduced to some lesser state, and you have a big release of quanta in the form of photons. And but more importantly than the photon release is you release some of these neutrons, and the neutrons disrupt the other atoms in the chain reaction. So an atomic bomb is basically a neutron chain reaction, where you just keep releasing more neutrons with every interaction with a neutron. So one neutron hits an atom, releases 3 neutrons. And as you keep doing that, quite obviously, in any kind of density of matter, all that matter is going to release an awful lot of energy, because those neutrons were each capturing, 1/3 of the speed of light times the speed of light of quanta. So we see the photons released, but the key thing to the explosion is the neutron release. Yeah. Anyway, till next time, and such.